Hey guys, Dov here with another unit highlight for Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer, and I don't necessarily want to call Warp Lightning Cannons underrated, because they are, I feel, appropriately rated. I mean, most people understand how powerful they are. They are pretty expensive, they do have some counters, but maybe a little bit forgotten in the wake of Jezzail's. Jezzail's, after they've been nerfed, people kind of came back around to the Warp Lightning Cannons, but there was a while where Jezzail's were just straight up better. But cannons, in a way, never really fail out of favor. You still see them with pretty convincing regularity. Here, I've got them against Bretonnia. Just one tasteful one, protected by some Warp Grinders. We've got Ikit Claw on his Doom Wheel here, a Plague Priest on a Bell, a couple of Rat Ogres to protect the flank here, Clan Rat Spears, Council Guard, and Tail Slashers with some more Spears. Chaff up front, Ixchus Triads. We're doing some scouting up on the hill there, but they're going to now skedaddle on back down to help protect that cannon. Got some Poison Wind Globadiers as well, decided to try them out. So we'll see how it goes for the Bretonian side. Red Legion here, rocking Bretonnia, or yeah, obviously Bretonnia. Fey Enchantress, pretty solid pick in this matchup. She does have basically damage resistance of 35% while she has that Guardian. Between Blessing of the Lady and, yeah, Guardian, obviously, she's got that physical resistance, including 60% magical resistance. It gives her effectively 35% damage resistance, right? Plus 15% missile, and then obviously magic attacks. In particular here, this Warp Lightning Cannon does deal magic attacks. Will, you know, be subject to that magic resistance of the Unicorn, but you can see here, the Poison Wind Globadiers get absolutely showered by all the Peasant Arrows. We've got a couple Paladins coming in here as well. They're going to get on Ikit as he's charging in the front line. Try and drop this brass orb here. And, yeah, do a good job of routing off those men-at-arms and battle pilgrims. Also going to try and summon some clan rats to get back into the back line. Start disrupting those peasant archers. Currently, they are just absolutely wrecking my units here, doing a ton of damage to the council guard next, despite the armor there. But thankfully, I do have them zoned far away enough that they can't really shoot the artillery. Maybe if they got a little bit closer, they could all focus fire on the Warp Lightning Cannons, but I've got the tools to protect the Warp Lightning Cannon, at least in melee for the time being. These Warp Grinders just kind of hanging around. Same with the Rat Ogres. Don't want to overextend too far. All the while, we're just plinking these high-value knights, or more like zapping them. Ikit, though, is taking a lot of damage. He's getting ganged up on by these paladins in the front line. The Fey Enchantress also getting her drain. I guess drain effects on both sides, so it's just a literal degenerate blob fight right now. But Ikit gets routed off by the paladins there, so not feeling great about that. Thankfully, I do have plenty of summons left, and should be able to recover Ikit in this back line. Obviously, this paladin doesn't want to overextend into the Triads and the Grinders all alone. He's going to go ahead and pull back very wisely there. And, yeah, all the meanwhile, just kind of zoning with these Rat Ogres, not allowing Red Legion to get back here with his cavalry. He's doing what he can to utilize his cavalry to help the infantry fight, which you can see has been pretty effective. Basically, this entire flank for me is broken, more or less, besides the Storm Vermin here, Council Guard. And I've also overextended a little bit. This Plague Priest now going to be the subject of all the Peasant Bow Focus Fire. Another great play there. Yeah, Ikit will come back, though, thankfully. We'll be able to drop some Warp Lightnings from a distance as the Warp Lightning Cannon continues to fire here. I don't know what they're doing some strange repositioning shenanigans right now, trying to get maybe up and over a lip or something. I don't really know. One thing about Warp Lightning Cannons, you will notice this thing is huge. Like, the artillery piece itself is one of the larger ones in the game for a multi-model artillery piece, especially. Makes them somewhat easy to counter-skirmish from something like a bolt thrower or even cannons, you know, fireballs, basically any kind of directed missile that you can throw at them. Even, you know, mass bow fire quite easily will destroy all three of these pieces and render it completely useless. As they are trying to do with my Plague Priest here and almost succeeding. Unfortunately, I was able to get the Tail Slashers up into the back line. They are just mopping kills right now on peasants. And likewise, these Ixchus Triads have come through and managed to get both of the Paladins in an engagement there, which was just great for me. Likewise, Rat Ogres did actually take an engagement against the Knights, got absolutely wrecked, but at the same time, we're able to hold the Knights in place long enough that the Warp Lightning Cannon's done its work, up to 83 kills in an XP Chevron. Absolutely clutch in helping to take out those Knights here. And yeah, Paladin, it's going to be the next subject. Basically just whatever high-value targets I can shoot at. If I can keep Ikit and the Plague Priest alive should be enough. Nice little Warp Lightning there to break up those Battle Pilgrims. The Fae comes in to try and fight the Plague Priest, but Ikit's coming back over, so she probably doesn't want to stand and fight alone. And it looks like Red Legion's going to throw in the towel there. Had him on a pretty good run, with the Warp Lightning still being basically completely protected. And yeah, the Fae Enchantress was about to get routed there, so understandable. But still, pretty good game. Definitely had some great plays on both sides. For myself, just sort of committing everything. Technically, this one Warp Lightning cannon ended up paying off in the late game there, as it was able to get consistent DPS and take out these key cavalry units. It got some DPS on the Paladins as well there in the late game. It's really good stuff. Storm Vermin, 90 kills in the front line, just wrecking with Peasants. 71 kills on the Plague Priest as well. Obviously, a very powerful tool in any matchup. Ikit got a little bit wrecked there, but was enough of a distraction doom wheel to be effective. And also, yeah, the Terror was key in that initial engagement. I didn't even have to use the Warp Grinders, which honestly was kind of good. At the end of the day, it means these Rat Ogres and other tools did their job. Poison Wind Globadiers, rest in peace. Absolute pieces, I should say. Getting shredded by the Peasant Bows before they had a chance to do anything, but that's just how it goes. Those Peasant Bows, especially in this volume, are absolutely nasty. Battle Pilgrims also, as you would expect, in the front line, racking up quite a few kills there. Enchantress herself, I'm surprised not to see more kills from the Drain, actually, considering she was fighting in those blobs. But yeah, ultimately, me being able to sneak through, obviously protecting the Warp Lightning Cannon in the late game, dealing with the Knights, that then freed up the Ixchus Triads to move in and try and take out the Paladins directly, which was super key for me. If the Paladins had been able to stay alive and finish off Ikit or the Plague Priest, that would have been probably game over for me at that point, but it's definitely an interesting one from Bretonnia's side. Lewin is a pretty common pick in this matchup just because of Lion's Shield. The Fae Enchantress is also a pretty good pick here, though. I mean, both of them I would consider the meta in different ways. Lewin can be controlled by Howling Warp Gale to a degree. And, I mean, Lion's Shield is not permanent, right? It has an active uptime. Fae Enchantress's magic resistance is permanent, although she's not quite as potent in melee, obviously, and doesn't cause terror. She does have the AoE Drain effect, though, which can be good against Skaven, and the Comet also can be pretty solid. I'm actually surprised that Red Legion didn't try and drop the Comet on the artillery piece. That would have been one way of trying to shut it down. I actually don't know. I didn't think to check if he even brought it there. But anyway, good stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Just a little bit more about Warp Lightning Cannons in general. They are one of the more expensive artillery pieces of this category, kind of that direct line of fire artillery. In fact, I think they might be the most expensive in that class. Well, I guess, no, there's some Empire ones that are more expensive, but what am I looking for? Skaven! There you go. Warp Lightning Cannons, obviously you've got the Regiment of Renown as well, that has this on contact effect, plus 10 ability recharge. Not quite as ridiculously overpowered as it used to be against Greenskins. You can't shut down WoW with this anymore permanently, like you could before, but still very, very strong. It does have a straight up anti-large bonus as well. So against large targets, it will be hitting for quite a bit more damage. 70 anti-large, so that missile damage goes up quite a bit against large targets. Also has explosion damage as well, so decent. Shooting infantry, very, very long range, 430 range, but if we just compare, like, obviously elf bolt throwers, in particular dark elf bolt throwers, are outranged heavily. This is one of the shorter range direct line of fire artillery pieces, 350 there. But, I mean, 430 is definitely on par with something like, I think Empire Cannon's 440, if I remember right, and same with the Dawi Cannon. At 450, actually, wow, really nice. And yeah, Dawi cannons are 440, so they do get outranged in that department, but they, because of the anti-large bonus and you know, the explosion, it might look like they deal less missile damage, but in fact they actually probably deal a little bit more. Magic damage can be a liability in certain cases, but in most cases it's actually pretty helpful. There are a lot of lords in the game, you know, heroes and stuff that have physical resistance that you might want to be shooting at. Generally, it does enough missile damage to one-shot most unit models anyway, even if they do have physical resistance, but having the magic on the explosion certainly helps. Definitely. But, yeah. Warp lightning cannons, kind of easy to counter, shoot in some ways, but also very, very powerful if you can keep them alive, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.